It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
What's going on, guys? Today I will be reviewing the Volume 1 Puppet Master Collection, which includes the first 3 films. This, of course, was released in 2012 by Full Moon Features. Full Moon was started by Charles Band, who used to be a part of Empire Pictures. Charles Band has made a bunch of movies throughout the years. He's a director, but he's also mainly a producer. Well, he is mainly a producer. He worked with Stuart Gordon doing From Beyond, and all kinds of stuff. So check out Full Moon. They've been around since like 1989. Their first film they ever produced was the first original Puppet Master. And let me say that these films are very hard to explain. You really can't, and especially not like this. I would have to sit and read, research about these films and explain what happens in detail. So don't expect a lot of detail out of these. In a nutshell, they're about Andre Toulon, who's the puppet master, and they jump throughout time. And and by the way, there's 17 Puppet Master films. This is only 3. There's a new one that just came out. I think it's called Puppet Master Little Reich, because there's a whole thing with Nazis. Toulon had to evade the Nazis in the first film here, and he blows his brains out, which doesn't necessarily set up anything for the first film. I mean, it sets up the whole series that's still going. So there's a lot of continuity problems in all these films. They change things around a lot. So trying to say, this is what happens and this is what happens, then this happens in number 9 and this happens in number 2 and 3, it's just irrelevant. These are just fun films, and there is some cool, interesting ideas conveyed, but like I said, things kind of fall apart in terms of like plot structure in every one of these films, and they're very incohesive and they don't really connect exactly. So, but one thing that they stay true to is the Toulon Puppet Master, at least in the first 3 films. Like I said, the first one they show Toulon blow his brains out to evade the Nazis, and the puppets are cool. The first one, you get to see the origins of, I believe her name's Leech or Leech Girl. I don't remember. She spits out leeches and kills people slowly by leeches, which doesn't really make sense, but it's creepy as hell to watch. Pinhead, who's the tiny-headed but huge, muscular puppet that's like the muscle of the gang. Then Jester's in it. Jester doesn't really do much. He's just creepy, and he's sort of like the first one you see when they all kind of sneak up on you. He conveys his emotions. It's either a smiley face or it's sad, or his little puppet Jester. And I believe that's all that's in the first film. The first film is kind of the weakest one, I would say. It's like, yeah, it's good enough and it's fun and it has some good parts, but it's very, at the same time, there's just weird kind of things that you want to dismiss. Like they really tried to pull the whole point of view of the puppet running around, and that's cool for a while, but they did it too much in the first one, and there's parts where you go, how would they not see that, because he's running around people through hallways in the middle of daylight. It's just kind of odd. And the kills are actually pretty good too. I mean, the first film came out in 1989, so special effects and blood effects and everything were really, really, kind of starting to pick up and peak. So in that department, you're pretty good. And anyway, that it's about psychics that go to that same hotel he shoots himself. And you know, I'm just not going to explain it. It's too hard to really explain what happens. Just, you got to watch it for yourself. I will say the second one is my favorite. In that one, the puppets resurrect the puppet master Toulon, who's been dead for decades, you know, since like Nazi times. So they resurrect Toulon, and he comes back all bandaged up and in wraps, and he's got these crazy goggles on and this old school hat. Very Invisible Man, or like Universal Monster looking, Phantom of the Opera maybe. And there's definitely like a nod to that in it, and he's really desperate in this one, and he's not like the sweet caring guy you see at the beginning, you know. So there's a lot of cool stuff, and I really like the introduction of Torch. That's something too that's kind of cool, is you see some puppets in some movies and some you don't see in other movies, and there's a good job with Torch. I mean, he's this like World War I German kind of guy, or not soldier. I don't think that's a Nazi. That's like World War I. And he, you know, he shoots flames and stuff. And there's this really interesting scene with a child that tries to play with him, and needless to say, I don't think it goes well. You know, so yeah, and then number 3 is, I believe, sort of like a prequel, where he kind of, the first time he interacts with the Nazis, and then they try to, man, that one's got a lot going on. It almost feels very like Indiana Jones, like it's less about the horror in number 3 and more of like an action kind of adventure like movie. I mean, that's the introduction of 6-shooter. And see, they didn't have Blade, no, not, what's his name, Torch in number 2 or number 3, and they introduced 6-shooter, which is like a 6-armed cowboy of the West, you know. And it's pretty funny because, you know, he'll shoot someone dead like a Nazi, and he's got little pea shooters, but the bullet holes are the size of normal bullets. Whatever, you know. All in all, you know, these are fun films. I will say they're complicated stories that aren't necessarily wrote very well, and they're kind of just, they're hard to understand because they change things from movie to movie. And you know, really, I mean, as a kid I remember watching, I'm not sure which ones I've seen, to be honest with you, because I can't ever tell you which, you know, I used to watch like marathons of them on the Sci-Fi Channel when I was a kid, and you know, it's like you block out what happens in between the puppets. You just remember the kills, you know. And you could say that a lot about like horror films and Nightmare on Elm Street films especially, and maybe some Hellraiser films, but I swear Puppet Master is just like, you are only gonna remember, you know, what the puppets are doing. And everything in between just feels like very boring and like whatever. I just want to see the puppets. Oh, and that's another one I forgot to mention. I don't know. I think his name's Drill, or Drillhead guy. Obviously has a drill. He's really cool too. He always has the best kills, and he's in all the movies. But I forgot to talk about him. And you know, but these are always fun. These are great. I think it's a good collection. I know this is a totally remastered edition because Charles Band explains in some of the special features on this that, you know, anytime you had seen a VHS or, you know, seen these movies on TV, they were always the kind of cropped full frame master videotape, and, you know, they didn't look as good. These look pretty good. You get to actually see, you know, some detail that you wouldn't have seen before. And this was a 2012 kind of releasing, so it's like a relatively new, you know, you can't call it cut, but a new remastered version, which you know, maybe a lot of people haven't watched in this way yet. So I highly recommend picking up the Puppet Master series. You know, that's about sums up what I have to say about these films. If you guys would check out cucamongapeakproductions.com, I would really appreciate it. You can find all my movie reviews on there. Well, links to all my movie reviews and all my short films. The website was created by the founder of Cucamonga Peak Productions, Sebastian Valmont, who starred in my first short film I directed called The Ultra. So, you know, look and see what we got popping up on there. I know he plans on doing some future projects, so, you know, shout out to Sebastian out there. So, yeah, you guys take care and have a good one.